Many across the world continue to react to the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, who was a chief architect of the October 7th attack on southern Israel. Hamas acknowledged Sinwar's death and described him as a martyr, while many world leaders praised Israel. Sinwar is described as the chief obstacle to securing a ceasefire in the Gaza conflict, and Israel's allies like the U.S. call this an inflection point that could accelerate talks to wind down the conflict. The war has killed thousands, destroyed large areas of Gaza, and displaced about 90% of its population of 2.3 million people. Thousands of protesters, mainly Houthi supporters, rallied in Yemen's capital to commemorate Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, while Libyans and Gazans mourned during Friday prayers.
Abu Ibrahim lam yakhtabi wa lam yafir.
A childhood neighbor in Gaza spoke about Sinwar, saying he did not hide, did not escape, and when he made a decision, he was always on the front rows. Today, the Israeli army released video showing what it said was a tank attack on a building that the Hamas chief was allegedly in. This video, released yesterday by the Israeli Defense Forces, is said to show Sinwar in his final moments. The IDF says he was sitting on a chair and he was shot in his hand. The edited drone video shows him holding what appears to be a piece of wood that he throws towards the drone.
And now we must make the most of this moment. What is needed now is a ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, immediate access for humanitarian aid, and a return to the path towards the two-state solution.
Sinwar was the main obstacle to getting a ceasefire done. Every time his political advisors we'd negotiate with and through them to come up with a proposal, it would have to get to him. Of course, that took time because of the communications challenges, and then he would just refute it and refuse to move forward.
Hamas says the hostages won't return until the war in Gaza ends.
We will tell those who are concerned about the occupation, hostages held by the resistance. Those hostages will not be returned to you unless you stop the aggression on our people in Gaza and the complete withdrawal from it, and the release of our heroic detainees from the occupation's prisons. We will continue on the Hamas path.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to convene a special meeting with government ministers to discuss hostage negotiations, but it's unclear when the meeting will be held or what exactly is on the agenda. Meanwhile, in southern Lebanon, Israel kept pressing its campaign against Hezbollah with strikes as its army called more reservists for operational activity in northern Israel. The country's military estimates Hezbollah's death toll to be around 1,500 men. Meanwhile, rockets fired towards Israel were visible from a small town in Lebanon. Today, Hezbollah announced the transition to a new and escalating phase in the confrontation with Israel. UN peacekeeping mission known as UNIFIL is stationed in Lebanon to monitor hostilities along the demarcation line with Israel, but said its forces had come under several deliberate attacks by Israeli forces in recent days.
One tower inside the headquarters in Nakura, 2 peacekeepers were injured, another 2 positions close to the blue line where they hit the communication system, the cameras.
Israel says UN forces provide a human shield for Hezbollah fighters and has told UNIFIL to evacuate peacekeepers for their own safety, a request that it has refused. Israel rejected the accusations that the force had been deliberately targeted. Today, U.S. President Joe Biden saying there could be an opportunity to end the conflict in the Middle East.
There's an opportunity, in my view, and my colleagues agree, that we can probably deal